Have you ever pondered on the seeming paradox of a merciful God amidst a world riddled with suffering? This question, often raised, challenges the concept of a merciful God, especially when we observe the harsh realities of our world. But let's delve deeper into this question from the perspective of the Quran. It's important to remember that the Quran, in verse 21, 107, states, "We sent thee not but as a mercy for all creatures." This verse emphasizes that God's essence is mercy. It is not just a characteristic, but a fundamental aspect of his being. God's mercy isn't just about alleviating suffering, it's about his compassion, his forgiveness, his love for his creation. It's about his guidance, his sustenance, his nurturing of every living being. But what about the suffering? From the Quranic perspective, suffering is not a sign of God's lack of mercy, but rather a part of the divine plan. The world is not meant to be a paradise, but a place of trials and tribulations. Each challenge we face is an opportunity for spiritual growth, a chance to strengthen our character and deepen our faith. It's through these trials that we develop patience, resilience, empathy, and a host of other virtues. Moreover, the Quran teaches us that our understanding of good and bad, of benefit and harm, is limited. We see a small fragment of the tapestry of existence while God sees the entire picture. What we perceive as bad may have good outcomes that we can't foresee. This doesn't justify the suffering, but it gives us a different perspective on it. In the grand scheme of things, the suffering we endure in this world is temporary, while God's mercy is everlasting. The Quran assures us that every difficulty is followed by ease, every test is accompanied by relief. In the Quran, suffering is never a reflection of God's mercy, but a test of faith and a means to spiritual growth. So even in the face of suffering, we find the expansive mercy of God, guiding us, nurturing us, and helping us grow. If the Creator is perfect, why are his creations marred with imperfections? This question, which has puzzled many, can be contemplated from a Quranic perspective. The Quran in verse 67:3 states, "Who created 7 heavens in layers? You do not see any inconsistency in the creation of the Most Merciful. So return your vision to the sky. Do you see any breaks?" This verse invites us to reconsider our understanding of perfection and imperfection. Perfection, as we understand it, is a human construct, limited to our finite comprehension. In contrast, the divine understanding of perfection transcends our earthly limitations. What we perceive as imperfections are integral parts of a grand design, a divine blueprint that is beyond our comprehension. These so-called imperfections challenge us, stimulate growth, and ultimately lead us to a greater understanding of our existence. In God's creation, what we perceive as imperfection is a matter of perspective. In a world filled with turmoil, where can we find evidence of God's mercy? This question often surfaces in the heart of humanity, especially when we are surrounded by suffering. We can find solace in the divine message of the Quran, which reminds us in verse 39:53, "Say, O my servants who have transgressed against themselves, do not despair of the mercy of Allah. Indeed, Allah forgives all sins." In the face of adversity, it's easy to overlook the manifestations of God's mercy. It's like a lamp in the darkness, though its light may seem dim, it never extinguishes. God's mercy is abundant in every heartbeat, in every breath we take, and in every moment we are alive. It can be found in the love that binds families and communities, in the resilience of the human spirit, and in the beauty and wonder of the natural world around us. The Quran teaches us that God's mercy encompasses all things. It is a reassurance that no matter how much we stumble or falter, God's mercy is always within our reach. This mercy is not a passive quality, but an active force in our lives, guiding us, providing for us, and offering us opportunities for growth and redemption. It's important to remember that suffering in this world is not a reflection of God's mercy or lack thereof. Rather, it's a part of the human experience, a catalyst for inner growth, compassion, and empathy. It is through these trials and tribulations that we can truly appreciate the depth of God's mercy. When we perceive the world through the lens of faith, we begin to see that God's mercy is not distant or abstract, but immediate and deeply personal. It is in the forgiveness we offer to others, in the kindness we show to strangers, in the patience we exhibit in times of hardship. God's mercy is not a puzzle to be solved, but a reality to be lived. It is a call to action, a call to embody mercy in our own lives, to extend it to others, and to seek it in our relationship with the divine. God's mercy is ever present, even when it's not immediately perceivable. So let's keep our hearts open, our spirits resilient, and our faith unwavering in the face of all adversities. For it is in these moments we truly witness the profound mercy of God. Why must life be a trial, and why must we stand it? The answer lies within the Quran, the holy book of Islam, which provides us with a profound understanding of life's purpose. From the Quranic perspective, life is not just an arbitrary existence, but a journey filled with trials and tribulations, designed to test our faith and resilience. In the Quran, it is written in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 155, "And we will surely test you with something of fear and hunger, and a loss of wealth and lives and fruits, but give good tidings to the patient." This verse signifies that life is a test, a trial, and we as humans are the ones being tested. The trials we face might be in the form of fear or hunger, loss of wealth or loss of lives. These are tests of our fortitude, our ability to remain patient and steadfast in times of adversity. Our response to these trials, whether we remain patient and trust in God's plan or crumble under the weight of our troubles, determines our spiritual growth and progress. The concept of life as a trial isn't designed to cause us despair, but rather to inspire us. It encourages us to nurture patience, perseverance, and unwavering faith. It reminds us that our struggles are not in vain and that they serve a higher purpose. This concept also underscores the importance of patience, a virtue greatly emphasized in Islam. Patience isn't merely about enduring hardships, but it's about maintaining faith and trust in God's wisdom, even when life's trials seem insurmountable. So why must we stand the trial of life? Because it's through these trials that we grow and evolve, spiritually and morally. It's through these trials that we learn to rely not on worldly possessions, but on our faith in God's wisdom and mercy. It's through these trials that we understand the transient nature of life and focus on what truly matters, our spiritual journey. Life is a trial, and patience in adversity is a virtue rewarded by God. Is our perception of evil merely an illusion? This question nudges us towards a profound insight. From a Quranic perspective, what we label as evil is not an independent entity, but a direct consequence of our actions. The Quran states in verse 479, "Whatever good happens to you is from Allah, but whatever evil happens to you is from your own soul." This profound verse encourages us to view evil not as a divine imposition, but as a reflection of our actions. When we act in ways that are unjust, unkind, or harmful, the resulting consequences can seem evil. They are, however, simply the result of our own choices. This perspective shifts the responsibility back onto us, urging us to live righteously and ethically. It guides us to understand that we have an active role in creating the world we live in. Evil is a result of our actions, not a divine imposition. Does the existence of suffering provide a compelling argument for atheism? This is a question that has often been posed in philosophical and theological discussions. It's a question that seeks to understand how a just and merciful God can allow suffering in the world. From a Quranic perspective, the existence of suffering does not negate the existence of God, but rather points to a different understanding of life and existence. The Quran, in verse 286, states, "Allah does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear." This verse provides a crucial insight into the Islamic understanding of suffering. Suffering in this context is not seen as a punishment or a failure of divine justice. Rather, it is seen as part of the human experience, a challenge to overcome and an opportunity for growth. Each individual's capacity for enduring hardship is recognized and acknowledged. The presence of suffering does not imply the absence of God. Instead, it underscores the human need for divine guidance and mercy. It drives home the reality that life is a journey filled with trials and tribulations, and that these trials are not beyond our capacity to endure. The Quran teaches us that God is not indifferent to our suffering. On the contrary, He is closer to us than our jugular vein, aware of every hardship we face. The existence of suffering then becomes an invitation to seek solace and guidance from God. So, does the existence of suffering provide a compelling argument for atheism? From a Quranic perspective, the answer is no. Suffering is not a sign of God's absence, but rather a call to seek His presence, His guidance and His mercy. In this understanding, suffering is not a negation of God's mercy, but a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, the capacity for growth, and the potential for divine connection. Suffering does not negate the existence of God, but rather underscores the human need for divine guidance and mercy.